Have you ever looked into the eyes of someone who could erase you from existence and chosen not to look away? The bullet left the chamber at the exact moment the cathedral bells struck 7. Amina Johnson heard both sounds, the chime and the crack, but her mind only registered one: the bells. She was looking up at the massive Christmas tree in Seoul Central Square. Phone raised to capture the lights for Malik when the man in the charcoal coat stumbled forward into her frame. Blood on snow, red on white. She lowered the phone. Her hands didn't shake yet. That would come later. The shooter, tall, dark-haired, ice in his eyes, stood 10 feet away, weapon still angled toward the fallen body. He turned, saw her, saw the phone recording everything. Their eyes met across the chaos of screaming crowds. He took one step toward her. She didn't run. "I see you," her silence said. "I see exactly what you are." And his eyes answered, "You shouldn't." 10 minutes earlier, Amina had been counting coins at her vendor cart, the smell of roasted chestnuts mixing with diesel fumes. Seoul in December was colder than anything Baltimore had prepared her for. 2 years in this city, and she still flinched when the wind came off the Han River. A child pointed at her handmade ornaments, painted wooden angels she carved during Malik's sleeping hours. The mother paid and moved on. Amina tucked the bills into her coat pocket, felt the thin fabric, the emptiness beneath. Malik's medication cost more each month. The rent came due on Christmas Day, as if the landlord enjoyed the cruelty of timing. She checked her phone. One message from her brother. "Made it home. Ate the rice you left. Love you, sis." 15 years old, and already apologizing for being hungry. We used to have more, Amina thought, remembering Baltimore row houses and her grandmother's Sunday dinners. Before medical bills consumed their savings, before their parents' accident, before Seoul became their last hope for survival. The Square's Christmas fundraiser was her final chance tonight. Wealthy donors, warm hearts, open wallets. She pushed her cart toward the light, toward the towering tree, wrapped in gold. That's when the bells began. The shot cut through silent night like a knife through silk. Amina's instinct was to drop. Every woman from East Baltimore knew that sound. But her phone was already up, filming the tree for Malik, and muscle memory kept it raised even as her brain screamed to take cover. Through the lens, she saw him. The shooter stood perfectly still while everyone else scattered, his hand steady, his expression empty, of everything except cold calculation. The man at his feet wasn't moving. The snow around the body bloomed crimson. His gaze swept the square, counting exits, calculating witnesses. Then he found her. Amina felt the weight of his stare like a hand on her throat. She should have run, deleted the video, disappeared into the crowd. Instead, she lowered the device slowly, deliberately, and met his eyes. He moved toward her, long strides, coat billowing. The crowd parted. 2 men in black followed, bodyguards. She'd seen enough crime dramas to know what they were. "You shouldn't have seen that," he said when he reached her. His English was flawless. Amina's fingers tightened on the phone. "I'm not running from the truth," his eyebrow lifted. "The truth? You shot someone. I saw it. Running won't change what happened." For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The square emptied around them, sirens wailing in the distance, snow falling soft and indifferent. He studied her face, the set of her jaw, the steadiness of her hands, the absence of tears. "Get in the car," he said finally. "No, that wasn't a request." "I know." Amina lifted her chin. "Do it here then. I want to look straight at the person who's going to end this." Something flickered behind his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or recognition, like seeing his own exhaustion reflected back. He gestured to the SUV idling at the curb. "Get in or I'll carry you." She believed him. Amina walked to the vehicle, phone clutched tight, pulse hammering. The door closed behind her with the soft, expensive sound of money and power. As they pulled away, she glanced back at the Christmas tree, its lights blurring through the tinted window. "Malik," she thought, "I'm sorry." The SUV glided through Seoul's back streets, snow muffling the city's noise. Amina sat rigid in the leather seat, her captor across from her, his coat folded beside him. Blood stained his shirt cuff, just a few drops against the black fabric. "Where are you taking me?" she asked. "Somewhere quiet." Her hands trembled now, the adrenaline catching up. She pressed them flat against her thighs. "I need to call my brother." "No calls? He's 15. He'll worry." His jaw tightened. "He'll live." "Will I?" The question hung between them, sharp as the cold air seeping through the window crack. He leaned forward, elbows on knees, studying her with the intensity of someone used to reading lies. "Why didn't you run?" he asked. "Would it have mattered?" "Maybe." Amina met his gaze. "I don't run from things I can't outrun, and you would have found me anyway." He almost smiled. "Smart. Smart enough to know you're deciding whether I'm a witness or something worse." "And which do you think you are?" She glanced at the bloodstain on his cuff, then back to his face. Those eyes, dark, haunted, carrying weight that had nothing to do with tonight. "I think you don't want to hurt me, but you will if you think you have to." He sat back. Outside, the city dissolved into warehouses and empty lots. "You know what I am?" "Mafia. Korean organized crime. I watch the news. I know about the families, the territories." "Then you know what happens to witnesses." "I know what's supposed to happen." She took a breath. "I also know you haven't done it yet." The SUV stopped in front of a concrete building, unmarked, windows dark. His driver opened the door. Cold air rushed in, carrying the scent of rust and old rain. "Inside," he ordered. Amina climbed out, legs unsteady. The driver handed him a first aid kit, then disappeared around the corner with the vehicle. They were alone. He unlocked the door. The safe house was sparse. One room, a kitchenette, a couch that had seen better decades. A single bulb flickered overhead. "Sit," he said, shrugging off his coat. Amina remained standing. "You're hurt." He paused, surprised. "Why do you care?" "Because if you collapse, I'm trapped here with no way home." This time he did smile, brief, dark. "The bullet grazed me. I'll survive." "Let me see." "You're not a doctor." "I was almost one." Amina set down her bag, moved toward him. 2 years of medical school at Hopkins before I ran out of money. I know how to clean a wound." He watched her approach, wary, but he unbuttoned his cuff, rolled up his sleeve. The graze was shallow, already clotting, but the skin around it was inflamed. Amina opened the kit, hands steady now that she had purpose. She cleaned the wound with antiseptic, her touch gentle but efficient. He didn't flinch. "Why did you stop?" he asked. "School?" "Yes." "My brother needed to eat. Med school doesn't pay. Night shifts at a hospital do." She pressed gauze against his arm. Then our parents died in a car accident 2 years ago. We had nothing, no family left except each other. Seoul has jobs for English speakers, so we came. You gave up your dream. I chose my family. Her voice was firm. Dreams don't keep a 15-year-old alive. He pulled down his sleeve, studying her face, searching for resentment, bitterness. He found only quiet resolve. You should be terrified of me, he said. I am, but panicking won't change anything. He sank onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. Most people panic anyway. I've been afraid before. I learned fear doesn't change outcomes, only choices do. Amina crossed to the kitchenette, found instant noodles in the cupboard, filled a pot with water. The stove lit, a small blue flame warm against the cold room. Do you believe in God? She asked. No. Why not? Because if God existed, he wouldn't let people like me live. Amina stirred the noodles. Steam rose, fogging the window. Maybe he lets you live because you're not finished yet. Finished with what? Being human. He laughed, bitter, broken. I stopped being human a long time ago. I don't think you did. She poured the noodles into 2 bowls, brought them over. Monsters don't hesitate. I didn't hesitate. You did. She blew on her noodles. You could have shot me in the square. You didn't. For a long moment, he said nothing. Outside, snow fell heavier now, muffling the world. I believe in bullets, he said finally. They're more faithful than prayers. Bullets destroy, Amina replied softly. Prayers heal. Have your prayers healed you? They've kept me alive this long. She smiled, just a little. And they're keeping you from pulling that trigger. He looked at her, really looked, as if seeing something he'd forgotten existed. The exhaustion in his eyes ran deeper than sleepless nights. It was the weariness of someone who'd stopped believing the world held anything worth protecting. What's your name? He asked. Amina Johnson. Amina. He tested the word. I'm Min-jae, Lee Min-jae. I know, your driver used your name. Min-jae almost smiled again. You pay attention. It's how I stay alive. He nodded slowly. Maybe we're not so different. No, Amina said gently. But maybe we could be. If you're finding this story moving, subscribe and ring the bell. Because this is only the beginning. The night stretched long. Amina tried to sleep on the couch but couldn't. Min-jae sat at the window, gun disassembled, cleaning each piece with methodical precision. Every few minutes, his phone buzzed, encrypted messages he read and deleted. Around 3 in the morning, she finally spoke. Do you ever sleep? Not much. Nightmares? Memories? He clicked a piece into place. Same thing. Amina sat up, pulled the blanket, Min-jae's coat, around her shoulders. How long have you lived like this? His hands stilled. Since I was 16, my father headed our family's organization. Legitimate businesses on the surface, but underneath. He picked up another piece, wiped it clean. He was poisoned at a business dinner. I watched him collapse. Amina's breath caught. You were there? Sitting beside him. The poison was meant for both of us, but I didn't drink mine. Don't like tea. His voice was flat, emotionless. I inherited everything that night, his empire and all his enemies. You were just a child. I stopped being a child after that. He reassembled the weapon. You grow up fast when people want you dead? Who did it? A rival family. We've been at war ever since. Min-jae set the gun aside. Tonight was the 3rd attempt this year. They're getting bolder. The man you shot was sent to finish what they started 14 years ago. Silence settled between them. Amina understood now. The coldness in his eyes wasn't cruelty. It was survival calcified into armor. "What about your mother?" she asked gently. Min Jae's expression shifted, something raw and old. "She witnessed my father do something unforgivable when I was 11. The next morning, she was gone. Left a note saying she couldn't save us both, me and her soul. She chose her soul. Min Jae, I've made peace with it. She made her choice. I made mine. What choice was that? To stay, to become strong enough that no one could ever hurt me again." He met her eyes. To become exactly what my father was. "But you're not him." "How do you know?" "Because you're sitting here, talking to me about it. He wouldn't have." Amina leaned forward. "You're questioning. That means you're still human." Min Jae stood, paced to the window. His reflection was ghost pale against the snowy night. "I've done terrible things, not just tonight. I've hurt people for power, for money, for revenge." "Have you done it for love?" The question stopped him cold. "No," he admitted. "Then you're not lost yet." Amina rose, moved toward him. "You can still choose differently. It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple. Hard, but simple." Min Jae searched her face. "You make me want to be better. I haven't wanted that in a long time." "Then be better, starting now." "What if I hurt you?" "What if you don't?" He closed his eyes, and for a moment she saw the exhaustion win, the weight of years pressing down on shoulders too young to carry it. "I don't know how to be different," he whispered. "Then let me remind you how." The statement hung in the air, an offer, a promise, a lifeline. Outside, Seoul slept beneath its blanket of snow. Inside, something shifted. "Stay," Min Jae said suddenly. "Help me figure out how to be better." Amina smiled softly. "I can do that." Morning came gray and reluctant. Amina woke to find Min Jae at the small table, papers spread before him, documents, photographs, organizational charts. "What is all this?" she asked. "My father's legacy, businesses, properties, accounts." He finally looked at her. "I've been trying to go legitimate for 3 years, sell off the criminal operations, keep only the legal businesses, but it's complicated." Amina studied the charts. The sheer complexity was staggering. "How do you keep track of it all?" "Carefully. One mistake and everything collapses." He finally looked at her, and she was struck by how tired he looked in the morning light. "I've been trying to unravel it for 3 years. Sell off the criminal operations piece by piece. Transition to legitimate business, but it's like trying to unknot a rope while someone's hanging from the other end." "What do you mean?" Min Jae pushed one of the charts toward her. "This is the protection structure. The Lee family, my family, sits here in the middle. We pay tribute to 3 larger families above us. They provide political protection, police cooperation, territorial security. In exchange, we pay them 40% of our earnings." 40%? Welcome to organized crime. But here's the problem. Most of our earnings come from illegal operations. Gambling, smuggling, protection rackets. If I shut those down and go legitimate, our income drops by 70%. Which means I can't pay the tribute, which means the families above us will see it as betrayal and eliminate me. Amina sat down across from him. "So you're trapped between wanting to change and needing to survive." "Exactly. And then there are the families below us, smaller organizations that pay us tribute. They sense any weakness, any vulnerability, and they'll try to take our position, like sharks smelling blood. He tapped the man's photograph from last night. The Kim family has been testing me for 2 years. Every assassination attempt is a test. Is he strong enough? Is he vulnerable? Can we take him? And last night I answered their question. Min Jae's voice was flat. But it's only a temporary answer. They'll test me again. Amina looked at the documents, at the photographs of stern-faced men in expensive suits, at the web of connections that seemed to have no beginning and no end. This is a prison. Yes. So how do you escape? I don't know if I can. He leaned back, rubbing his face. I've talked to lawyers, accountants, even approached law enforcement twice through back channels. But the system is so corrupt, so entrenched, everyone's connected to someone. And even if I could somehow extract myself, I'd need protection from the families I'd be betraying. Which means witness protection, new identity, leaving everything behind. Would that be so bad? I'd be leaving my father's legacy to vultures, everything he built, the legitimate businesses that employ thousands of people, the real estate that houses families, the restaurants that feed communities. All of it would be torn apart by people who only care about profit and power. Amina heard something in his voice, pride, maybe, or duty. You care about those people, the employees, the families. My father taught me that power comes with responsibility, that if people depend on you, you don't abandon them. Min Jae looked at her. It's one of the few good things he taught me. Tell me about him, the real him, not the crime lord. Who was your father before all of this? Min Jae was quiet for a long moment. His fingers traced the edge of his father's photograph, a man with severe features and cold eyes that somehow still held warmth when you looked closely. He was complicated, Min Jae said finally. He loved me in his way, taught me to play chess when I was 5. Every night after dinner, we'd play at least one game. He said chess taught you to think 3 moves ahead, to anticipate your opponent, to sacrifice small pieces to protect the king. Sounds like he was training you. He was, but he was also just my father. He taught me languages, Korean, English, Mandarin, Japanese. Said the world was getting smaller and smart men spoke more than one tongue. He took me to museums, to historical sites. He loved history, especially Korean history, the dynasties, the wars, the way power shifted over centuries. Amina smiled slightly. You said you wanted to be a history teacher. Because of him, before I knew what he really did, before I understood the empire he'd built. I just knew my father loved history and taught me to love it too. Min Jae's expression softened with memory. He had this way of making the past come alive. He'd tell me stories about ancient generals and wise kings, about battles won with strategy instead of force. I thought he was the smartest man in the world. And your mother? The softness vanished. She was different, gentle where he was hard, kind where he was calculating. She volunteered at our local church, helped poor families in our neighborhood, organized charity drives for orphanages. My father tolerated it because it gave our family a good public image. Good PR for the legitimate businesses. But she meant it. She meant every word of it. She really believed in helping people, in kindness, in grace. Min Jae's voice grew quieter. She used to tell me that we were blessed with wealth and comfort, and that meant we had a responsibility to help those who weren't. She said every person deserved dignity, no matter who they were or what they'd done. She sounds like an inspirational woman. She was, until she saw too much. Min Jae stood abruptly, paced to the wall. When I was 11, there was an incident. A business partner had betrayed my father, stolen money, tried to cut a deal with the Kim family. My father found out. And one night, he brought the man to our house, to the basement. Amina's stomach tightened. She could imagine what came next. My mother heard the screams, Min Jae continued, his back to her. She came downstairs. She saw everything, what my father was capable of, what he really was beneath the expensive suits and charity dinners. And the next morning she was gone, left a note on my bed. What did it say? That she loved me more than anything in the world, that she'd prayed for a way to take me with her, but she knew my father would hunt us down, that she couldn't save both of us, me and her soul, that staying would destroy her, would make her complicit, would turn her into something she couldn't live with. So she chose her soul. His voice cracked on the last words. Min Jae, I was 11 years old. I woke up on a Tuesday morning, found the note, and my mother was gone. Just gone. Like she'd never existed. My father never spoke about her again. It was like she'd been erased from our lives. Amina stood, moved toward him. That must have been devastating. It taught me a lesson. What lesson? That love is conditional, that even mothers leave, that the only person you can truly rely on is yourself. He turned to face her. And that kindness is a luxury people like us can't afford. You don't believe that? I did, for a long time. I told myself that my mother was weak, that she chose comfort over courage, that she abandoned me because I wasn't enough reason to stay. He met Amina's eyes. But lately, especially since meeting you, I've wondered if maybe she was the brave one. Maybe leaving took more courage than staying. Amina reached for his hand. She left you because she loved you. How do you figure that? Because staying would have destroyed her. And if she'd destroyed herself, she would have destroyed you too. Children become what they see. If she had stayed and slowly died inside, you would have learned that love means suffering in silence. Instead, she left, and yes, it hurt you, but it also showed you that sometimes love means making impossible choices. Min Jae stared at her. I've never thought about it that way. Maybe it's time you did. Amina squeezed his hand gently. Maybe it's time you forgave her and yourself. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed insistently. Min Jae glanced at it, and his entire body went rigid. What? Amina asked, alarm rising. He showed her the screen. Anonymous text. We know about the girl, and we know about the brother. Amina's heart stopped. Malik. Another text arrived immediately. We're watching him right now. Cute kid. Would be a shame if something happened to him. No, Amina whispered. No, please. Min Jae was already moving, grabbing his coat, checking his weapon. We need to get to him, right now. How do they even know about him? They've been following me, tracking my movements. They must have seen you, researched you, found out about your brother. He grabbed her arm, pulled her toward the door. Come on. They burst out of the safe house into cold morning air. Min Jae made a quick call, rapid Korean she couldn't follow. Within 3 minutes, the black SUV reappeared. Where does he go to school? Min Jae asked as they climbed in. Yongsan International, but he should be home right now. It's Saturday. Give me your address. Amina rattled it off, her hands shaking, her mind racing with terrible possibilities. Malik alone in their tiny apartment. Malik who trusted everyone, who smiled at strangers, who would open the door if someone knocked. The drive felt endless. Min-jae made more calls, his voice clipped and commanding. He was assembling people, sending them to her address, creating a perimeter of protection. But would it be enough? They screeched to a stop in front of her building, a run-down apartment complex in Yongsan, the kind of place where landlords didn't ask questions and neighbors minded their own business. Amina was out of the car before it fully stopped, running for the stairs. Min-jae followed, weapon drawn. They took the stairs two at a time, reaching the 4th floor, racing down the narrow hallway to her door. It was ajar. Amina's blood went cold. "Malik," she pushed through the door. The apartment was small, cramped, but it was home. Her and Malik's coats hung by the door. His backpack sat on the floor. The breakfast dishes she'd left in the sink that morning were still there. But Malik was gone. "Malik!" Amina screamed. Min-jae swept through the apartment, checking the bathroom, the tiny bedroom. "He's not here." Amina saw it then. A note on the kitchen table, weighted down by Malik's phone. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. "We have the boy. Bring the witness. Midnight. Old fish market near Mapo Bridge. Come alone, or he dies." Sung-ho, Min-jae said, his voice dropping to something dangerous. "That bastard." "Who is he?" "My second in command, the man I've trusted for 10 years, my father's most loyal lieutenant before that." Min-jae's hands clenched into fists. "He's been betraying me, working with the Kim family. He's probably been the one coordinating the assassination attempts from inside my own organization." Amina couldn't breathe. "We have to get him back." "It's a trap." "I don't care. He's my brother." "I know." Min-jae gripped her shoulders. "And we will get him back, but we need to be smart about this. Sung-ho wants us both dead. He wants to eliminate you as a witness and eliminate me to take control of the organization. He'll kill Malik the moment we show up." "Then what do we do?" Tears streamed down Amina's face. "He's 15, Min-jae. He's innocent. He doesn't have anything to do with this." Min-jae pulled her into his arms, held her as she shook. "We'll get him back. I swear to you, we'll get him back. But you have to trust me." "How?" "Because I know Sung-ho. I know how he thinks, and I know his weaknesses." Min-jae pulled back, cupped her face. "But I need you to promise me something." "What?" "If things go wrong tonight, if I tell you to run, you run. You take Malik and you disappear. I have money hidden, accounts Sung-ho doesn't know about. You take it and you get out of Seoul, out of Korea. You start over somewhere safe." "I'm not leaving you. Promise me, Amina." She saw the fear in his eyes, not for himself, for her, for Malik, for what he was about to do. "I promise," she whispered. But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. She wasn't leaving him. Not after everything. They were in this together now, for better or worse. They had 14 hours until midnight. Min-jae spent them making calls, assembling what remained of his loyal people, planning an extraction from what would undoubtedly be a death trap. But Amina couldn't just sit and wait. The fear was eating her alive. "Take me somewhere," she said suddenly. Min-jae looked up from his phone. "Where?" "Somewhere that means something to you, somewhere that reminds you of who you wanted to be before all this." He studied her face. "Why?" "Because if we're going to walk into a trap tonight, I want to know who I'm walking in with. The real you. Not the crime lord or the killer, just Min Jae. Something shifted in his expression. He nodded slowly. Okay, there's a place. They drove through Seoul in silence. Amina watched the city pass, so vibrant, so alive, so indifferent to the small human dramas playing out within it. People going to work, families walking together, couples holding hands. Normal life. The life she and Malik had been trying to build. The life that was now hanging by a thread. The church appeared between two crumbling buildings. Stone walls covered in ivy, stained glass windows that had somehow survived decades of neglect. A cross tilted but still standing like a defiant prayer. "This is it?" Amina asked. "This is it." Min Jae parked, climbed out. "My mother used to volunteer here before everything fell apart. She'd bring me with her on Saturdays. We'd help sort donations, serve meals to homeless families, clean the sanctuary." He pushed open the heavy wooden door. It groaned on ancient hinges. Inside, the silence felt sacred. Pews lined the nave, worn and splintered, but still dignified in their decay. Dust motes danced in colored light, streaming through the stained glass. The altar held a single unlit candle and a small nativity scene. Wooden figures watching over nothing, waiting for a miracle that never came. "It closed when I was 13, Min Jae said softly. "Not enough money, not enough congregation. The building's been abandoned ever since. Sometimes I come here when I need to think, to remember." "Remember what?" "Who I used to be, before my father died, before I became this." He gestured at himself, the expensive clothes, the weapon concealed under his coat, the blood on his hands that no amount of washing could erase. Amina walked forward slowly, her footsteps echoing in the empty space. She moved to the altar, found matches near the candle, struck one. The flame caught, bloomed, spread warm light across the dusty sanctuary. "My grandmother used to say that every candle is a prayer," she said. A small light pushed back against the darkness. A reminder that hope persists even when everything seems lost. Min Jae joined her at the altar. "I stopped believing in hope a long time ago." "I know, but maybe it's time to start again." Amina knelt in front of the nativity scene. After a moment, she began to sing softly. "Silent night, holy night." Her voice filled the empty church, wrapping around the stone and wood like a benediction. It wasn't a perfect voice, untrained, a little rough around the edges, but it was sincere, real. Min Jae stood behind her, hands clenched at his sides. His throat tightened. He couldn't remember the last time he'd heard someone sing, really sing with their whole heart. When she finished, Amina remained kneeling, eyes closed. "Do you pray?" Min Jae asked quietly. "Every day, sometimes every hour." "Does it help?" Sometimes I don't know, but I do it anyway because..." She opened her eyes, looked up at him. "Because the alternative is drowning in despair. And I won't do that. I won't let this world take that from me." Min Jae sat in the pew behind her. "God doesn't listen to people like me." "Why do you say that?" "Because if he did, he would have struck me down years ago. Saved the world from what I've become." Amina turned to face him. The candlelight warmed her features, softened the fear in her eyes. "Or maybe he's been waiting for you to come back. Maybe he's been holding space for your return." "That's a nice thought, but I don't think it works that way." "How do you think it works?" "I think..." Min Jae struggled with the words. "I think there's a line, and once you cross it, Once you've done certain things, there's no coming back. No redemption, no grace, just consequences. My grandmother would disagree. Your grandmother sounds like a saint. She wasn't. She made mistakes, had regrets, but she also believed that grace wasn't something you earned. It was something you accepted, and that no one was beyond redemption if they truly wanted to change. I don't know if I want to change, Min Jae admitted, or if I even can. But you're here, in this church, with me, lighting candles and talking about grace. Amina stood, moved to sit beside him. That's wanting to change. That's the first step. Min Jae looked at the candle flickering on the altar. Such a small light, such a fragile hope. I'm afraid, he said finally. Of what? Of trying to be better and failing. Of trying to protect people and getting them killed instead. Of opening myself up to hope and having it destroyed. He turned to her. I'm afraid that I'll get your brother killed tonight, that I'll get you killed, that trying to be good will just result in more death, more blood on my hands. And I'm afraid of that too, Amina said honestly. I'm terrified, but I'm more afraid of not trying, of letting fear paralyze us into doing nothing while Malik suffers. So what do? We try, we plan, we fight, and we trust that we're not alone in this. You mean God? I mean each other. I mean the people who still believe in you. I mean whatever force in this universe pushes back against evil and holds space for redemption. She took his hand. Call it God, call it grace, call it whatever you want, but believe in something beyond yourself, because you can't do this alone. Min Jae looked down at their joined hands. I'm not used to relying on anyone. I know, but maybe it's time to learn. They sat in the candlelit church, two people carrying impossible weights, trying to figure out how to save a 15-year-old boy from men who'd forgotten what it meant to be human. Tell me about Malik, Min Jae said. I should know who I'm trying to save. Amina smiled through her tears. He's smart, so smart, top of his class in everything. He wants to be an engineer, builds things out of whatever scraps he can find. Our apartment is full of his little projects, robots made from old phones, circuits built from spare parts. He sounds brilliant. He is. He's also kind, too kind sometimes, sees the good in everyone, makes friends with stray cats, helps elderly neighbors carry groceries, volunteers at the community center, teaching English to Korean kids. Her voice broke. He's everything good in my life, everything I'm fighting for. We'll get him back, Min Jae said firmly. I swear it. How can you be sure? Because I know what it's like to lose someone you love, and I won't let you go through that. He stood, pulled her to her feet. Come on, we have work to do. But before they left, Amina pulled him back to the altar. Wait, pray with me. I don't know how. Yes, you do. You just forgot. She knelt, and after a moment, he knelt beside her. Just talk. Say what's in your heart. Min Jae closed his eyes. For a long moment, nothing came. The words were trapped, buried under years of cynicism and survival. Then slowly, they emerged. I don't know if you're listening, he whispered. I don't know if I have any right to ask for help, but, his voice cracked. Please, please don't let that boy die because of me. Don't let Amina suffer because I dragged her into my world. If someone has to pay for my sins, let it be me. Just, please, protect them. Amina squeezed his hand. And if you're willing, Min Jae continued, Help me be brave enough to do what needs to be done, even if it costs me everything." They knelt together in the silent church, two souls reaching for grace in the darkness. The hours until midnight crawled by with agonizing slowness. Min-jae coordinated with his remaining loyal people, 12 men who'd been with him since his father's time, who hadn't been corrupted by Sung-ho's promises of power and money. It wasn't enough. Sung-ho would have at least 20, probably more. The numbers weren't in their favor, but numbers weren't everything. Strategy mattered, surprise mattered, and desperation could make you dangerous in ways that comfort never could. As twilight fell over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold, Min-jae laid out the plan. "The old fish market is a maze," he explained, spreading a hand-drawn map across the table. "Warehouses, cold storage units, processing areas, dozens of places for ambush. Sung-ho will position snipers here, here, and here." He marked 3 locations. He'll have the main force in the central warehouse, where he'll be holding Malik. "So how do we get to him?" Amina asked. "We don't. Not directly." Min-jae traced a route along the map. "We come in through the south entrance, these old drainage tunnels. They connect to the cold storage basement. We can approach from underneath, come up behind his position." "That's assuming he doesn't know about the tunnels." "He doesn't. My father built them as an escape route 30 years ago. Sung-ho never had clearance to know about them." Min-jae looked at her. "But this is still incredibly dangerous. Once we're inside, we'll be outnumbered and surrounded. One mistake and we're all dead." Amina met his gaze steadily. Then we don't make mistakes." As midnight approached, they drove to the fish market in tense silence. The smell of salt and decay grew stronger as they neared the waterfront. The market had been abandoned for 5 years, ever since a fire had destroyed half the buildings and the city decided not to rebuild. Now it was a ghost town of rusted metal and rotting wood, the perfect place for violence to unfold unseen. Min-jae's men fanned out, taking positions around the perimeter. 3 would create a diversion at the north entrance. 4 would cut off escape routes. The remaining 5 would accompany them through the tunnels. Min-jae handed Amina a small knife in a leather sheath. "Keep this on you. If things go wrong, they won't. But if they do, you use this. You fight. You survive." He cupped her face. "Promise me." "I promise." But what she was really promising was to fight for him, to protect him, to make sure they all made it out alive. They entered the drainage tunnel through a hidden grate near the water. The space was narrow, dank, smelling of rust and old fish. Water dripped from overhead pipes. Their footsteps echoed against concrete. Amina's heart hammered as they moved through the darkness, guided only by Min-jae's phone light. Every shadow seemed threatening. Every sound could be an ambush. Finally, they reached the ladder leading up to the cold storage basement. Min-jae went first, testing the hatch, easing it open slowly. Clear. They climbed up into a vast space lined with ancient refrigeration units. The temperature dropped 20 degrees. Amina's breath ghosted in the freezing air. Above them, they could hear voices, footsteps, the sounds of men waiting for violence. Min-jae signaled his team, 2 left, 2 right, 1 covering their rear. He and Amina would go straight through the center. They moved like ghosts through the cold storage, past hanging chains and rusted hooks. The main warehouse loomed ahead, light spilling through cracks in the door. Min Jae paused, listening. Then he pushed the door open. Inside, the warehouse was exactly as he'd predicted. Bright fluorescent lights hanging from chains. 20 men positioned around the perimeter. And in the center, Malik tied to a chair, tape across his mouth, terror in his eyes. Sung-ho stood behind him, weapon pressed to Malik's temple, smiling. "Min Jae," he called out, "right on time, and you brought the girl. How romantic." "Let the boy go, Sung-ho," Min Jae said, stepping forward. "Your fight is with me." "Oh, I intend to fight you, but first." Sung-ho pressed the weapon harder against Malik's head. "First, I want to watch you suffer. I want you to feel what it's like to lose something you care about." He's a child. He has nothing to do with this. "Neither did we, Min Jae. Neither did we." Sung-ho's voice turned bitter. "Do you remember how old I was when your father recruited me? 14. Younger than this kid. I had nothing. No family, no home, no future. Your father gave me purpose, gave me power, gave me a family. So this is about my father. This is about you, about watching you inherit everything while the rest of us scraped for scraps. About watching you try to go legitimate, to abandon everything we built together, everything we sacrificed for." Sung-ho's finger moved to the trigger. "You don't get to just walk away. You don't get redemption while the rest of us stay damned." Min Jae raised his hands slowly. "You're right. I don't get to walk away. None of us do. We made choices and we have to live with them. Or die with them. Or die with them," Min Jae agreed. "But that boy didn't make any choices. He's innocent. So let him go, and you and I will settle this. Right here, right now, just us." Sung-ho laughed, bitter, broken. "You think I'm stupid? The moment I let him go, your men move in. I end up dead, you end up the hero. No, this ends with all of you." Amina stepped forward. "Wait." Sung-ho's eyes locked on her. The witness, the woman who started all of this. "Take me instead," Amina said, her voice steady despite the terror coursing through her. "Let Malik go, keep me, use me as leverage, but let an innocent child go free." "Amina, no." Min Jae grabbed her arm. She pulled free. "He's 15. He deserves a life, a future. Please." For just a moment, just a heartbeat, something flickered in Sung-ho's eyes. Doubt, hesitation, the ghost of the boy he'd been before violence became his language. Min Jae saw it, seized it. "You're not a monster, Sung-ho, not yet, not completely. You're angry, you're betrayed. I understand that. But killing a child won't fix what's broken. It'll just make you into something you can never come back from." "I'm already past that point." "No, you're not." Min Jae took a step closer. "If you were, you would have shot him the moment we walked in. But you're hesitating, because somewhere inside you, the boy your father saved still exists. The boy who wanted to be something better. Honor that boy. Let Malik go." Sung-ho's hand trembled slightly. That's when chaos erupted. One of Sung-ho's men, jumpy, trigger-happy, fired at Min Jae's position. The shot went wide, shattered a window, but it was enough. Min Jae's team stormed in from 3 directions. Sung-ho's men returned fire. The warehouse exploded into violence, muzzle flashes, shouting, the acrid smell of gunpowder. Min Jae moved with lethal precision, crossing the space in long strides, weapon drawn. He fired twice. 2 of Sung-ho's men dropped. Amina ran for Malik, dodging between crates, keeping low. Bullets whizzed overhead. Glass shattered. Men screamed. She reached the chair, started working the ropes binding Malik's hands. I've got you, baby, I've got you. Then she saw him, Sung-ho, appearing through the smoke, weapon raised, aimed directly at her head. No, Malik screamed through the tape. Min-jae turned, saw what was happening, threw himself forward. The shot echoed above all others. Amina felt the impact. Not pain, not yet, just force. She stumbled backward, hit the concrete, warmth spreading across her shoulder. Red, so much red. Min-jae's face appeared above her, pale with fury and fear. "Get Malik out," he roared to his men. "Now." Hands grabbed Malik, cut his bonds, dragged him toward the exit. He fought them, screaming for his sister, but they were stronger. Min-jae turned on Sung-ho, and the rage in his eyes was absolute. "You shot her," he said, voice like gravel scraped over bone. "I shot a witness." Sung-ho backed away, reloading. "Just like you should have done days ago." "She saved me." "She made you weak." "No." Min-jae raised his weapon with steady hands. "She made me remember what I was fighting for." The shot was perfect. Center mass. Sung-ho dropped to his knees, clutching his chest, eyes wide with disbelief. "You chose her," he gasped. "I chose humanity," Min-jae said quietly. "Something you forgot existed." Sung-ho's eyes went dark. Min-jae dropped to his knees beside Amina, hands shaking as he pressed his coat against her wound. Blood seeped between his fingers, warm, red, too much. "Stay with me," he commanded. "Amina, stay with me." She blinked up at him, vision blurring. "Malik." "Safe, he's safe." "Good." She tried to smile. "Don't shoot anymore." "I won't, I promise. Just stay awake. Please, please stay awake." But her eyes drifted closed, and Min-jae felt his world collapse around him. The world turned sideways. Amina hit the concrete, pain exploding in her shoulder. Red spread across her coat, warm and startling. Above her, Min-jae's face appeared, pale with fury. "Get Malik out," he roared to his men. "Now." Hands lifted Malik, dragged him toward the exit. He fought them, screaming for his sister, but they pulled him into the night. Min-jae turned to Sung-ho. The rage in his eyes was absolute. "You shot her," Min-jae said, voice like gravel. "I shot a witness." Sung-ho backed away, reloading. "Just like you should have done days ago." "She saved me." "She made you weak." "No." Min-jae raised his weapon. "She made me remember what I was fighting for." The shot echoed. Sung-ho dropped, clutching his chest. He gasped, eyes wide, disbelieving. "You chose her." "I chose humanity," Min-jae said. "Something you forgot." Sung-ho's eyes went dark. Min-jae dropped to his knees beside Amina, hands shaking as he pressed his coat against her wound. "Stay with me, Amina, stay with me." She blinked up at him, vision blurring. "Malik." "Safe, he's safe." "Good." She tried to smile. "Don't shoot anymore." "I won't, I promise. Just stay awake." But her eyes drifted closed. The hospital was a blur of white lights and urgent voices. Min-jae rode with her in the ambulance, holding her hand, praying words he'd forgotten existed. "Please. Not her. Take me instead." They wheeled her into surgery. A nurse tried to pull him away. He refused. "I stay with her." "Sir, you can't." "I stay." Maybe it was his tone. Maybe the desperation in his eyes. The nurse relented, handed him scrubs. "Family only." "She is family," Min-jae said. He waited outside the surgical suite, pacing. His men arrived, Malik among them. Blanket wrapped around his shoulders, eyes red from crying. "Is she?" Malik couldn't finish. "She's strong," Min-jae said, kneeling in front of the boy. "She'll fight." this is my fault. No, this is mine. I brought her into my world. I didn't protect her well enough. You saved her. I nearly lost her. Malik shook his head. She told me about you before. His voice cracked. She said you were trying to be good. She believed in you. The words hit Minjae hard. Amina had believed in him when he'd stopped believing in himself. She'd seen past the violence and the years of choosing survival over soul. I'll be better, Minjae whispered. I swear it. Hours passed. Dawn broke gray and cold through the hospital windows. Minjae sat in the waiting room, Malik asleep against his shoulder, both of them suspended between terror and hope. Finally, a doctor emerged. She's stable, the doctor said. The bullet missed major arteries. She'll need months of physical therapy, but she'll recover fully. Minjae's knees went weak. Can I see her? She's sleeping, but yes, briefly. He followed the doctor to her room. Amina lay pale against white sheets, bandages across her shoulder, IV dripping steadily. But she was breathing, alive. Minjae sat beside her bed, took her hand gently, and did something he hadn't done in 14 years. He prayed. Not the desperate bargaining from the ambulance. Real prayer. Honest prayer. I don't know if you're listening, he whispered. I don't know if I have the right to ask, but thank you. Thank you for keeping her alive. And if you're willing, his voice broke. Help me become someone worthy of her faith. The tears came then, silent, unstoppable. He cried for his father, for his mother, for the boy he'd been before the poison and the violence, for all the choices he couldn't take back and all the people he couldn't save, and for the woman in the hospital bed who'd refused to let him stay lost. Amina woke to soft light and the sound of murmuring. Her shoulder ached, her mouth was dry, but she was alive. She turned her head slowly. Minjae sat beside her bed, eyes closed, hands clasped, lips moving silently. What are you saying? She whispered. His eyes flew open. You're awake. What were you praying? Minjae's face colored slightly. The truth, maybe, for the first time in years. Tell me. He took her hand, careful of the IV. I told God I was sorry, for everything, and I asked him to let you live, even if, he stopped, swallowed, even if it meant taking me instead. Amina's eyes filled. He kept us both. Miracle, maybe. Or grace. Minjae smiled, real and warm and unguarded. I like your version better. She squeezed his fingers weakly. Where's Malik? Sleeping in the next room. He hasn't left since we got here. Keeps asking when you'll wake up so he can apologize. For what? For getting taken. I told him that wasn't his fault. It wasn't yours either, wasn't it? No. Amina's voice was firm, despite her exhaustion. Sungho made his choices. You made yours. You chose to save us. I should have chosen sooner. But you chose. That's what matters. Minjae reached into his pocket, pulled out something small, closed his fist around it. I have something for you. What is it? He opened his hand. A bullet rested in his palm, tarnished brass, the one from that first night at the Christmas tree. When this bullet flew, Minjae said quietly, I lost faith in everything, in people, in goodness, in the possibility of redemption. He placed it gently in her palm. When you fell, I found it again. Amina's tears spilled over. Minjae, I'm done, he said. With the criminal life, with the violence, I'm getting out completely. How? I don't know yet, but I'll find a way. He leaned closer. Because I can't be the man you deserve if I keep being the man I was. I don't need you to be perfect. I know, but I need to try. She smiled through her tears. Then try, and I'll be here. Even after everything? Especially after everything. Min Jae pressed his forehead to hers, careful not to jostle her shoulder. They breathed together, two people who'd found each other in the darkest place and chosen to walk toward light. I love you, he whispered. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but you're allowed. Amina touched his face with her free hand. And I love you too, even knowing what I am. Former criminal, she corrected, grinning. You're retired now, remember? He laughed, genuine, bright, free. Yes. Retired. A soft knock at the door. Malik peeked in, eyes wide and red-rimmed. Sis, come here, baby brother. Malik rushed to her bedside, hugged her carefully, sobbing into her hospital gown. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Shh, you're okay, we're okay. Min Jae stood to give them space, but Amina caught his hand. Stay. He did. They sat together, the three of them, as Christmas morning broke gentle over Seoul. Outside, church bells rang. Inside, something healed. 2 weeks later, on a snow-bright afternoon, they walked together through Seoul Central Square. The Christmas tree still stood, lights twinkling, families gathered around it, the place where everything had started. Amina's arm was in a sling, but she insisted on walking. Min Jae stayed close, Malik on her other side, protective as a guard dog. Are you sure about this? Min Jae asked. I'm sure. Amina stopped beneath the tree, looked up at the lights. I needed to see it again, without fear. And it's just a tree, she smiled. A beautiful tree, but just a tree. Min Jae pulled an envelope from his coat. I have something for you. What? Open it. Inside were 2 documents, a lease agreement for an apartment in Itaewon, and an acceptance letter to Seoul National University's medical program, with a full scholarship attached. Amina stared, speechless. How did you... I made some calls. Your scholarship was reinstated based on your original academic record, and the apartment is paid for the next 2 years, for you and Malik. Min Jae, I can't accept. You can, and you will. He took her good hand. You saved me, Amina. Let me help save your dream. She threw her arm around him, buried her face in his coat. Thank you. You're welcome. Malik grinned up at Min Jae. Does this mean you're staying? If your sister will have me. She will, Malik said confidently. She talks about you all the time. Malik! Amina's face heated. Min Jae laughed, ruffled the boy's hair. Good, because I'm not going anywhere. They stood beneath the Christmas tree, 3 people who'd found family in the most unlikely place. The snow fell soft around them, and for the first time in years, Min Jae felt the weight lift from his shoulders. What now? Amina asked. Now? Min Jae looked at her, this brave, beautiful woman who'd refused to let him stay lost. Now we live, really live. Together? If you'll have a reformed Mafia Boss as your partner. Amina smiled, kissed his cheek softly. I think I can manage that. Malik made a face. Gross. They laughed, the sound carrying across the square, bright and free and full of hope. As they walked away hand in hand, the camera pulled back slowly. The tree glowed behind them, golden against the white snow. Seoul sparkled in the winter light, and somewhere in the distance, church bells rang for evening prayers. The screen faded to white, and elegant text appeared. Under the snowy Seoul night, a mafia boss fell for the poor girl who should have died. Instead, she taught him how to live. And in learning to live, he found his way home. This Christmas, remember, no one is beyond redemption. No act of kindness is ever wasted. And sometimes the most inspirational love stories begin in the darkest places. Because real romance isn't about perfection, it's about two imperfect people choosing each other again and again, even when the world says it's impossible. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and share it with someone who needs hope tonight. True love, honest, brave, transformative love can change everything. And that's the most motivational truth we have. Thank you for listening. Until next time, may you find your own light beneath whatever stars guide you home.